Welcome back, rugby fans, to Rugby 411. As always, I'm your host. My name is Joshua Shibata, and this is going to be a very tough video to make because last week was week 3 of the MLR 2023 season, and it was a great week of rugby action. Not necessarily so great when it comes to our pick'ems, or at least my pick'ems. So we'll go over that in the later half of this video. The first half is going to be our power rankings for Rugby 411 of Major League Rugby after 3 weeks of the MLR 2023 season. There is a brand new number 1, a little bit of shifting around in the top 2 rows of the teams, while the bottom 4 is almost pretty much the same. And again, if you're new to my power rankings are not solely based off of win-loss records. It really is about what happens on the pitch. It's about how well a team performs, what opponents they play against, how well they are doing currently. So even though maybe a team was really, really hot at the beginning of the season, if they start to sputter out, and as we all know, rugby is a game of attrition, they will start to slide down the power rankings. If they start to improve later on in the season, they'll start to slide their way back up. It does happen. Also, too, again, as I mentioned before, how you beat an opponent, the number of points you put up, how strong your opponent was, if it was a home field advantage, all that takes into account of these rankings. And for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the way the results come out every week. And so that's how we put together these power rankings. As always, I would love to hear your comments on if you agree with my power rankings or not. We have had some fans of certain teams, including, of course, the New England Free Jacks, who weren't so happy with some of my rankings of the Free Jacks so far in this season. But I feel, even though the season has begun, they are pretty accurate. But we'll see how it ends at the end of the season. So with that being said, let's start off really, really quick. The number 12 spot, it remains pretty much the same because the Toronto Arrows, your number 12 team, are one of 2 teams that had a bye this week. So because they didn't play, they don't get to move. They stay at the number 12 spot. Also staying in their position near the bottom, number 11, NOLA Gold, who suffered a defeat against Rugby ATL. NOLA, as I predicted from the very beginning, a team that unfortunately looks like they're going to be struggling quite a bit this season. They didn't really make too many changes in the offseason. They actually lost quite a few key players. And so far, again, the season is early. They don't look like they look like they're going to struggle a lot this season. They lost to Rugby ATL 16-29. It was pretty competitive at first. Fly half Rodney Ona was able to put up a couple of penalty kicks due to some poor discipline for Rugby ATL. But in the second half, Rugby ATL kind of took it away. It didn't help that in the second half, one of the star NOLA players, Tom Florence, a big prop, was given a yellow card for a very obvious shoulder tackle right to the face of a Rugby ATL player. And after that, Rugby ATL just scored at will. It really does seem, as I mentioned before, that NOLA is lacking a lot of firepower. They just so far have not been able to compete defensively, but they haven't even been able to put up the points to just compete with their opponents to try to make it super competitive throughout the game. So unfortunately, with that loss, NOLA is still winless, and they are in the number 11 spot. Number 10, kind of almost taking a step backwards. I was thinking about moving them back a spot, but right now their loss not nearly as bad as the NOLA loss. Is everybody's second favorite team, the Dallas Shackles, sitting at the number 10 spot. They do not move up or down. They lost kind of a one-sided battle against a very tough Seattle Seawolves team, losing 10-35. I'll be honest, Dallas is dealing with some injuries. They lost their scrum half, Pedro Imhoff, and a couple of other injuries that they were dealing with before the game started. It really, unfortunately, this game kind of looked more like the Dallas of last season, not the new, tougher, more Argentinian style playing Dallas of so far the 2023 season. Now, granted, going against Seattle, uh, the Seattle defense, even outside of Starfire Stadium in Seattle, the seawall is very much a real thing, and unfortunately, Dallas were not able to penetrate through that seawall. It is very tough to play against the two-time Major League Rugby champions, a team that I do feel will probably make appearance in this year's Major League Championship Shield final. So Dallas put up an effort, but were very much outclassed. The one bright spot for Dallas, it does look like they are finding a place kicker in Alejandro Torres, who was 2 for 2 off of the tee. A big improvement, unfortunately, for a guy, one of their star players, Adrian Carlisi, who so far this season has really struggled kicking off the tee. Maybe Alejandro Torres will be their more permanent place kicker, and hopefully will bring some more points for Dallas, who stay at number 10. Now, sliding one spot, unfortunately, from number 8 to number 9, the new kids on the block, the Chicago Hounds, who opened up their very first game in SeatGeek Stadium. From what I understand, they had a pretty impressive showing of about 2,000 fans, which is great for the Chicago area. Very rich rugby historical city like Chicago has a very big rugby community, so it was really great to see the fans coming out for the Chicago Hounds. Unfortunately, not able to get a victory. They lost to Utah in a heartbreaker, 10-14. Yeah, honestly, it was a really good showing by Chicago. It really was. I feel Chicago is so close to breaking out to being a very, very competitive team. It was nice to see that Julian Dominguez, former NOLA Gold player, former Rugby ATL player, was able to join Chicago after dealing with some visa issues. He added a lot of firepower to Chicago. Very dynamic player. The only thing I see so far with Chicago, and it's something that the LA Giltinis were able to kind of bypass really early in the season, is just a sense of teamwork dynamics, a sense of familiarity with each other. There does seem to be a lot of miscommunication between Chicago players. Granted, again, first season for this team. It's composed of players from different teams, so not everybody's on the same page, but those miscommunications seem to, unfortunately, cost Chicago in the end. There were some instances, like in this game, there was a moment where Bryce Campbell had the ball, looked like he could have easily went for a try, but for whatever reason decided to do a kick pass, and that ended up being a turnover for Utah. There was just a lot of situations that I felt like, Chicago was so close. In the end, Chicago had the ball in the last minutes of the game, down only 4 points. They were literally right there on the try line, and unfortunately there was a knock on. Again, it's such a heartbreaker. Chicago could have easily won this game. They really gave Utah a good fight, but unfortunately with that loss, they slide down one spot, and that allows the Utah Warriors, who defeated them, to slide up a spot. So Utah and Chicago switch spots in the power rankings. A good win for Utah in this game. Their defense really held up. That really made the difference. Again, Chicago, unfortunately, just making some minor communication or critical errors that cost them the game. It's going to be exciting because they are both in the Western Conference. They'll play again. Granted, it's going to be in Utah, so that's Zion Stadium. That's always a tough place to play, but it will be fun to see these two teams play against each other then and see if the outcome comes differently, because I wouldn't be shocked if it was. Also, too, it does sound like two-time MLR back player of the year, Billy Meeks, formerly of the LA Giltinis, is finally going to be able to suit up as a Chicago Hound. He is in Chicago. Don't know if he will make his debut this upcoming game, but him being now finally with the team, able to train with the team. And again, I feel with a couple more weeks of teamwork together, getting the flow, getting the communication, Chicago will end up being a very dangerous team to play. as the season progresses. Going on, number 7, the other team that was on a bye, the New England Free Jacks, didn't play. I don't really feel comfortable ever moving a team that's on a bye up or down, so they stay at the number 7 spot. Moving on, number 6, also staying in their place, Rugby ATL, who, as I mentioned before, were able to beat NOLA Gold. It was a good win. It was a competitive game at first, but then in the second half, Rugby ATL started to pull away. Try scored by White and Waitokia. It was a good win for Rugby ATL. Again, the reason why I didn't move them up after beating NOLA is because NOLA is the team second to last in the power rankings. I don't think that win is as impressive as beating the team in the upper echelon of the power rankings. So, granted, Rugby ATL doesn't slide, but I don't feel they earned a victory to put them up. A team that did unfortunately slide from the number 2 position to number 5, Old Glory DC, which this was the game, man, I really was on a fence of, as you saw, if you saw my video, I literally was about to change it, decided to change it back, wanted to change it and change it back. I stuck with it. I felt Old Glory DC was going to surprise Rugby New York, but no. Instead, man, Rugby New York Ironworkers, proving why they are the reigning and defending MLR champions, destroyed Old Glory DC 8-34. Old Glory DC, unfortunately, just too many penalties. Just way too many penalties, and the New York Ironworkers are not a team where you can score. You can make penalties and not be punished with, and that's exactly what New York did. I'll go a little bit more into details when I get to Rugby New York in the standings, but with that loss, Old Glory slides down from the number 2 spot down to number 5. Moving down also a couple of spots, another game where I unfortunately picked the wrong outcome. The team that I thought was looking really, really strong so far this season, San Diego Legion, playing again in Snapdragon Stadium in front of a very big crowd, lose unfortunately to the visiting Houston Sabercats in a really, really close competitive game. Honestly, guys, as much as it sucks for me that I had a horrible week in pick'ems, I'm honestly not as disappointed because the San Diego Houston game and the Chicago Utah game literally was a coin flip. Either teams could have won those games, but in the end, it turned out to be the teams that I didn't pick to win. San Diego losing a heartbreaker in this one, 25-31. In the end, honestly, San Diego really just beat themselves. They were up in the game early, 12-0. There was a moment where Houston scored 17 unanswered points, and San Diego just looked completely lost. In the end, there's a lot of ill-disciplined penalties, and the last 2 big ones, 2 back-to-back yellow cards, one by, unfortunately, both by former LA Giltini players, Justice Sears Duru and Christian Poy-Devin. Both of them got yellow cards in the last 10 minutes of the game, so San Diego literally down 2 players, and Houston is another team. You just cannot, especially with a 2-man advantage, you cannot defeat a team like that. Also, unfortunately, San Diego dealing with some injuries on their own. Very talented fly half Josh Henderson was out. Carlo Denisian was out for Houston, but Josh Henderson out for San Diego. That's a big loss for them. And also, too, in this game, there were some really bad mental errors. Marcel Brackey, a very talented player, unfortunately tried to score a try by jumping over the ruck. To score a try in rugby, you can't jump over a ruck that you formed yourself, unfortunately. You can't do that, so they were penalized with that. Just again, this game could have finished off differently, but unfortunately, when you're down 2 men, that's a lot to ask for to pull off a victory, and it seemed also too that San Diego beat themselves when they were up 14-0 to then give up 17 unanswered points to Houston. It will be fun, like I said again, to watch these 2 play. Granted, it will then now be back at Sabercats Stadium, but to see Houston and San Diego play and to see what that outcome is, because it was a very entertaining game, very close, Houston, as much as they beat San Diego did beat themselves a lot in that game. Unfortunately, that does cause San Diego to slide 4 points down from the number 1 spot down to the number 4 spot. Sitting at number 3, staying in number 3, your two-time MLR champions, the Seattle Seawolves, with a victory over the Dallas Jackals, 35-10. Now, again, the reason why they don't get to move up or definitely not move down is because they're beating a team like the Dallas Jackals, just like with Rugby ATL. I don't feel, even with the game being as lopsided as it was, 35-10, especially with the two teams that were up here, I don't feel their victory over Dallas is as impressive as the two top teams that be moving up them. So they don't get punished for the win, and they don't get to move up for the win. So the Seattle Seawolves stay at number 3. Now, the biggest jump of the week, from the number 6 spot to number 2, your defending and reigning MLR champions, the Rugby New York Ironworkers. Like I said, they completely dominated Old Glory DC, a game that's the game I'm really disappointed in, because Old Glory, man, we're just blown out of the water, 34-8. Congratulations for Jack Heighton, who was a star of that game. By himself, scored 22 points. He had a hat trick with 3 tries. He was also 3 for 5 off of the tee. Also, congratulations to Sam Windsor. Again, he broke the 500-point barrier, 4 points overall in Major League Rugby franchise history. He is the top point scorer. He scored a try as well in the game. Man, Rugby New York is looking like a dominant team. And again, I predicted both Seattle and New York to possibly have a rematch of last year's championship game to be this year. And right now, both teams are looking pretty good for that. Now, the number 1 spot, the biggest jump of the week, 4 spots up, actually tied technically, 4 spots up with New York, the Houston Sabercats, who knocked out San Diego Legion. And in game, again, as much as I felt that San Diego beat themselves, you got to give Houston credit because they did put up a lot of points. They took advantage of the situation given to them like they should have. 2 men up at the last 10 minutes. Well-deserved victory for Houston, and so they get the victory and they move up to the number 1 spot, which then sets up a very fun, fascinating game this coming weekend where we'll have 2 undefeateds fighting for the top spot in the Western Conference between the Houston Sabercats and the Seattle Seawolves, which I will mention later on in my other video. That will be the game that I will be doing a Major League Rugby watch-along with. I believe it's Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Even though you might be on the East Coast, stay up late with me, watch some great rugby. It will be a fun game to watch. Undefeated teams. The Western Conference, like I said, are looking to be the more competitive conference, so that's going to be a fun game to watch. So, this is my power rankings. Again, conveniently enough, it ended up where all 4 of the bottom teams are, unfortunately, the 4 teams that have yet to win a game. Chicago, I feel, is the closest to turning around the season. Dallas has a chance. I'll be honest with you guys, I don't know about NOLA in Toronto. Obviously, they probably won't end the season winless, but they're going to really have to struggle to get those wins. And then I'm very satisfied with my mid-tier, second-tier teams. And then, of course, these 4 teams look like right now. Hopefully, San Diego can turn things around after that loss. But these 4 teams look like right now the top teams in the league. Now, with that being said, let's move on to our review of this week's Pick'ems pool. Again, this is going to be a hard part of the video because the results were not good for yours truly. Let's put up the results of this week. Boom. And congratulations goes out to MSDRFC83. He got the yellow cap, which symbolizes the highest points of the week. I found out his name is Mike. He introduced himself to me via social media. Seems like a really cool dude. Congratulations, Mike. You were absolutely right about that Old Glory pick. Unfortunately, that bit me in the ass big time. But Mike on top with 10.5 points. Coming in second place, John Hawkins with 9. Third, Jahigo. Again, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. 8.83. USA League and Union fan. who has actually had a really great season so far, granted it's 3 weeks in, is fourth with 5.5 points, and then tied for fifth is Brit 47 and MR Rugby with 5.33 points each. Unfortunately, first time, I've been playing this for a couple years now. This is the first time I've ever gotten the wooden spoon, which symbolizes the worst points of the week. That was for me with 2.5 points. Now, granted, not going to give myself an out, but I'm just going to say Footy Balls did not put any picks at all, which might have saved me the chance of being the winning spoon, but it is what it is. Hopefully, I can dig myself out of the grave and get back with this week's picks. But congratulations again goes out to Mike. I will hopefully do better this week. Let's look at the overall leaderboard. Bam! And now, because of that huge victory this week, MSDRFC 83, Mike goes up 2 spots to claim the number 1 position with 26.5 points. Sliding down a spot is USA League and Union Rugby fan with 24 points. Moving up a spot, Jahigo, 23.66 points. SD Cal CA guy, San Diego, California guy, probably drops down 2 spots with 22 points even. And then, because he was second this week, huge jump this week for John Hawkins, 9 spots to take the number 5 spot with 21.5 points. So again, guys, I want to thank everybody that's part of our pool. 20 players, more than we had last season. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have added a few new players add in. If you want to join in, it's still not too late. It's not out of the realm if you missed the first 3 weeks to be able to still make a difference and make maybe the top spot. You have to be a really good pick'em though for the rest of the season, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. Now again, the first place winner gets a free MLR t-shirt of the team of their choice from yours truly. If I'm somehow able to dig my way out of the grave and get to the top spot, I will donate money, about $50 probably, to a charity of my choice, probably the SPCA LA branch, because they take care of homeless animals on the streets. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun, guys. Absolutely free. You download the Super Brew app. I'll put the instructions on how to join in the descriptions of the video. So, that is my video this week. Again, it was very, very tough. Second half. I've never seen the winning spoon before. Hopefully, this coming week will be better. And speaking of which, that will be my next video with my pick'em picks. I hope you guys enjoyed the power rankings. Let me know again in the description, in the comments below, if you agree with my rankings. Again, I'm very happy with them. I'm excited to see the Houston-Seattle game. Again, guys, if you want to do the watch along with me, I'll be watching the game. You can watch all the games this week and every week for Major League Rugby, live and on demand on the Rugby Network. That's what I'm going to be watching that game. We'll do a watch along. We talk, we hang out, we chill, we just enjoy rugby. It's a lot of fun. We'll be doing that with the Houston-Seattle game. 2 undefeated teams fighting for first in the Western Conference. Saturday, 7:30 p.m. kickoff time, Pacific Standard Time. Join us, won't you? It'll be a lot of fun. And as always, thank you very much for watching my video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the pitch.